Shh. Shh. Hey, we're back.
Hey guys.
Wow.
All right, so we're going to start by talking about France in the New World. So France's colonies are up there in like Canada and North America, as you probably all know. Canada's like second language is French, and you got Quebec, so they're up in there. So they settled in North America. You got Samuel de Champlain, nice French name, and started the first permanent settlement in Quebec. And the North American climate up there in Canada really deterred settlers from arriving in great numbers because if it's cold outside like it is right now, you're not really going to want to cross the ocean and settle in Canada. But Jesuits did come over in great numbers, those Catholic priests, and converted a lot of the natives over to Catholicism. So,
Here's Mr. Champlain. Champlain. I want to say champagne.
And then that's an old picture of Quebec.
Quebec. Is that like a
Probably like a sea monster
that
there.
sea monster right there? Canada doesn't have sea monsters.
All right, so the majority of what happened there in France and what the French were doing in the New World was fur trapping. They came over and they saw the land didn't have gold, which was really unfortunate. That's really what they wanted. But they were like, all these beavers, like this is awesome. Let's like hunt them and we will start making beaver hats, we'll make beaver pelts, this will be great. And it went over super well in Europe. People started buying fur, everything. And they also were doing a lot of fishing up there too. And unlike the Spanish, a lot of colonists, I mean, a lot of them came over as just men doing the fur trapping, but a lot of other people came over as families, seeking like a new area to kind of just chill in Canada.
And it is at this time during Europe that like coonskin hats and all of this kind of stuff, like this colonial frontier is like really getting to a point to where like it's people are like, ooh, you know, it's so kind of cool back in Europe. Like, oh my gosh, those guys are going out there and they're explorers and they're out there in the frontiers and they got to be tough and all that. So there is kind of a mystique about these people that are in the New World, but you know, maybe not enough of a draw to really want to go there and try to brave a winter in Canada and all that to actually go. But now, so governing New France, and so we have one of our most powerful kings, and this is Louis the 14th. All right, and he is the definition of what you think of as a monarch or a king in Europe.
Absolute monarch.
And he referred to himself as the Sun King, and that he was at the center of the universe, and France was at the center of the universe. And so he saw, just like Spain and England, that these colonies were places that you could make some cash. All right. And so he really controlled what was happening in his colonies, just like the Spanish did. But the French did send families over, which was different than the Spanish, and they didn't really intermingle with the native populations.
Right. They intermingled with the native populations in a sense to like help them get more beavers and more different pelts. And they had kind of friendlier relations with the natives than kind of the Spanish did, but they didn't really marry them. I mean, one of those bullet points says that he sent unmarried women over to start families. He was like, yeah, we don't want to intermarry or intermingle with these like natives that much. So we need to send over more French women. And then we're going to talk about the British 13 colonies, my absolute favorite thing. So in 1607, the first settlement was at Jamestown, Virginia. Virginia named after the Queen. Jamestown named after the next king, after Queen Elizabeth. And then in 1620, we all know the Pilgrims came over, landed in Plymouth, and they were helped largely by the native population. So again, the British and the French are really, really like pretty friendly with the native populations. They don't marry them, they don't have kids with them, but they're like having a lot of friendly relations with them. And as we know, all of the different regions of the 13 colonies did different things. The North did manufacturing, South plantations.
All right.
So just a picture here of Jamestown, picture here of the 13 colonies, as we've all known about. So governing the 13 colonies, like the French, they asserted complete control over their colonies. The king appointed officials to run government in the colonies, and again, brought over family groups. Do not, have relations with those natives. We're bringing over families. We want it to be British completely. And had friendly or ish relations with the Indians, at least more than the Spanish did.
Now, the Europeans coming over had a huge impact on the natives. All right. Obviously, the idea of horses, new foods, that kind of stuff kind of helped out. But um, I would say that it was not a very even kind of relationship. I would say that the Europeans took more from the natives than what they gave back to them. And one of the biggest things, and the Europeans realized this, it was not something that like they didn't know what was going on. The Europeans used technically the biological warfare of using blankets and things that had smallpox on it, um, and gave them to the Indians as gifts, and then these Indians would contract uh, the disease, and about 97% of the indigenous population is gone from the Americas because of disease and forced off of their areas, and killed. So, um,
The natives helped the Europeans in small ways too. They helped them by showing all the new foods that the New World had to offer, how to grow them, and also a lot of the Europeans started like adopting the clothing styles and the living styles of the natives because it just suited the area better than like the European style of like living. So I think that's all we got there on colonizing America.
yeah, all right.
Bye guys.
Yep.